Hi, I'm Paige Fitzgerald from Inclusive Educational Practices, and we help families navigate special education with confidence. Today, we're talking about what happens during a child's first individualized education program meeting, aka IEP meeting, what your role is as a parent or a guardian, and how you can make the most of the conversation. So let's jump right in. The big question: what is an IEP meeting? An IEP meeting is a team meeting where educators, specialists, and parents come together to discuss a student's unique learning needs and just create a plan for support. So think of it as a roadmap. They're point A in the beginning of the year or whenever you might be having this meeting, and you are making a plan to get them to point B. So the team is going to look out how your child is currently performing, the areas where they need support, goals for them for growth, and services and accommodations that can help them succeed. So, yes, you're going to be updated in what is happening in school, but the real purpose of the meeting is to create a plan to support your child together. And like I said, parents are a critical part of that team. So, who's going to be at the meeting? The exact team might vary, but typically what you'll see is a special education teacher, a gen ed teacher, a school administrator, or district representative. You might see related service providers such as speech, occupational therapy, or counseling staff, and school psychologists most likely will be at the meeting or someone else whose evaluation um, is a part of the meeting. And of course, you as the parent or guardian. So, depending on the age or circumstances, your child might also be invited to attend. They don't have to attend if they don't want to, but if they are able to participate in the conversation, it really is great to have them be a part of it. So just remember here, every person at the table brings a different perspective, but no one knows your child better than you do. And your observation and experiences matter. So I highly recommend that you do attend your child's IEP meeting if you are being invited. So what happens during the meeting? So most first IEP meetings follow a similar structure. Many time, the initial eligibility meeting will be added in as a part of, or rather, we'll have the IEP meeting as a part of that as well. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have the initial eligibility and then you schedule an initial IEP meeting. So you may or may not have already reviewed the evaluation results. If you haven't, then at that meeting, you're going to discuss those assessment results and they're going to explain why your child qualifies for special education services. You probably hear information about their academic skills, where they're doing really well, where they need support. You'll hear about their communication, social emotional development, behavior, functional skills. Don't be afraid to stop the conversation and ask questions. If something isn't clear, you can ask for clarification. I've seen in many meetings, there are some districts that do a really good job of pausing after each section, making sure parents understand what is going on before they move on. I've also seen meetings where they don't do that, where they try to just steamroll through and talk as fast as they can. Um, it's okay to speak up and just say, "Excuse me, we need to pause. I have a question," or "Hold on, I need some clarification." Or if they're really just going like da 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 da, da, you can't get a word in, just raise your hand. You would be surprised how effective that is. Um, so do just go old school, right? Like third grader style, just raise your hand and they will pause and they will answer your question. And then if you do that once, they will probably be like, oh, okay, we need to remember to pause for parent input because it's important. You have every right to understand what's being discussed. So, flex that right, do it. Step two, the team will talk about your child's present levels. So they'll talk about their child's strengths and challenges. Sometimes this is called the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, or just the present levels of performance. So you might hear someone call it a plop, which is weird, but it's just an abbreviation. It's all a mouthful, but it just really means where is your child right now? This is a really great time to share what you're seeing at home, what's working well, what your areas of concerns are, and your hopes for your child. I usually tell the parents that I work with as an advocate to write all of this up beforehand. So, what you'd like to discuss in terms of sharing what's going really well, and especially those concerns that you have, because meetings can feel really overwhelming. Oftentimes, you have like 8 other people sitting across from you, and having it written down ahead of time is going to make sure that you're checking off every concern that you have. It's getting addressed. You can send it to the team beforehand if you want in an email. Sometimes Sometimes they don't read it beforehand, even if you send it out weeks in advance, but you've sent it, it is there on the record. Or you can just bring it with you, and you can give them a copy to keep and have it added to your child's educational record. Um, so step 3 would be developing goals. So they're going to create measurable goals for the upcoming year. And strong goals should be specific, they should be measurable, and they should be relevant to your child's need. So don't hesitate to ask, how is progress going to be measured? Or how will I know if my child is making progress toward this goal? Step 4 is when the team is going to determine services and supports. So you're going to discuss what your child needs to meet these goals. And that can include specialized instruction, speech therapy, occupational therapy, counseling, could include accommodations, classroom supports. The conversation should always connect back to your child's individual needs. And once again, this is a really good place for you to ask questions. If you are confused as to why this support is being used in terms of instead of this support, you can ask it. You can ask, what's the reasoning for my child, your recommendation of only doing 30 minutes of speech in a group setting rather than one-to-one, or rather than this many times a week? You can ask those questions because there should be well thought out reasons for why they're making recommendations. And parent input does play a role in how these goals and services are put into the IEP. So ask questions, ask questions. It's okay. They've got time. Someone's covering the classroom, I promise you. Ask the questions that you need to ask to make sure that you feel good about what is going in your child's IEP. So I hear the same concerns from parents all the time. What in terms of what parents often will worry about, which is, what if I disagree? What if I don't understand everything? What if I forget to ask something important? And here's the good news: you don't have to make every decision perfectly in the moment. Like I've said before, you can ask questions. You can request clarification. You should be taking notes. You can ask for copies of documents. They should be giving you copies beforehand of any evaluation results that they have. Um, some states, some districts will give you a draft IP beforehand, some do not. It just depends where you are. But you should be able to get copies of any of the documents that they're referencing in that meeting. And if something doesn't feel right, it's okay to say, I'd like more time to think about that, because there can be this illusion of like a time-based pressure. And sometimes there are timelines for things, but most of the time when you're talking about decisions in an IEP meeting, you have time to think about things. And an IEP meeting is a collaborative process. It's not a test that you're going to pass or fail, right? You can ask questions. You can ask a follow-up question after the meeting. If you still need clarification, it's all okay to do. So how should you prepare before the meeting? So a few simple ways to prepare: review any reports or evaluations ahead of time. If your school district, which I've seen before, if your school district is like, oh, we're going to give you the evaluations at the meeting, no, that is not okay. You want reasonable amount of time to be able to read and review that report and show it to someone else, right? If you need to, if you want to show it to an advocate or a family member who's really well versed in speech language pathology or something like that, you want to be able to have time to really thoroughly read it and get the clarification and understanding. And that's exactly where you invoke your rights, um, your your procedural safeguard rights. So review any reports or evaluations ahead of time. Write down those questions. So important. Like I said, make a list of your child's strengths, make a list about the biggest concerns, and also consider your vision for your child over the next year. Some parents focus only on the challenges. Don't forget to share what your child does really well. Those strengths are going to help guide the supports and goals that are developed. So if your child's first IEP meeting is coming up, I want you to remember this: you do not need to be a special education expert. You just need to be an expert on your child, and you just need to prepare beforehand. The school's expertise and your expertise are supposed to go hand in hand, and that is when they work best, when they come together and you actually are meaningfully collaborating. So when everyone focuses on understanding and supporting the student, that is when meaningful progress really happens. So if you found this video helpful, which I hope you did, be sure to like and subscribe for more special education tips and resources. And if you're preparing for any upcoming IEP meeting, drop your question in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. I will also put a link in the video notes for a free IEP. Oh, I can talk today. A free IEP prep guide that we have for parents that you can download. So thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.